Hello everybody, it's Carl Bound here from Comic Culture and the Game Store in Lincoln in England, and today we're going to have a look what's in the box for Cataclysm, a Second World War, notice a Second World War, not the Second World War, by GMT Games. Okay, this is a multiplayer game up to 5, although it works really well with 2 as well. Starts in 1933, can go all the way up to 1950. So let's have a quick look what's in the box. Okay, first of all, front cover, as you can see, quite a striking design. Helmet on, looks like a rifle maybe or something buried in the ground. Okay, on the back you can see the map. Quite a clear, clean map, I quite like it. Some of the counters, idea about the game, it's got medium complexity, which I would say is right, although it's got quite a few new concepts, so you might struggle to learn it at first. Solitaire suitability is 7. Now it's a chip pull game, and I tend to find that these work better solitaire than non-chip pull games, so although it might not be perfect for solitaire, it should work fairly well. Bit of information about it. You can see there's 2 maps, so you've got the European map and the Pacific map. So let's have a look inside. First of all, to get the lid off, found this lid quite tricky to get off, it's quite tight, so you'll have to excuse me. Probably would help if I was kept it straight. There we go, eventually got that off. Hopefully it's not like that every time. So first of all, we got the rules of play. Now these are, if I remember rightly, 40 pages long. They contain rules for, you know, everything that you would expect in a grand strategy game. This is the thing about this game. It's grand strategy. You're not a general, you're not a corps commander, you're not, you know, a submarine commander. You are the leader of your country. Okay, so if you're the United Kingdom, you're pretty much Churchill, United States, Eisenhower, etc. There are 3 factions, or 3 ideologies. There are the democratic powers, which are France, United Kingdom and United States. There are the fascist powers, Germany, Italy and Japan, and then there's one communist power, who is of course the Soviet Union. And the way the game plays, you will always stay within that ideology. Now if you play 5-player, the idea is the United Kingdom is 1 player, France and United States are another, I think Italy, Japan, Germany is 1 player, and then obviously the Soviet Union is another. Like I say, it's a chip pull game, and the idea is that you end up putting chits into this cup, but when they come out each turn, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know the order in which things are going to happen. So you might want to build loads of units, you might want to build fleets, you might build air forces, you might want to do diplomacy, you might want to launch offensives, but you can't be sure when those things are going to come out. So it's saying basically a 3-player game. Obviously, like I say, you can play it with 5, but 3 seems to be the way that they're recommending it. So at the start, we've got the component list, we've got the description of the map, we've got the features, special bases, crossing arrows, things like that, so you know where your aircraft can get to. Then there's pictures of the units. Okay, now you can see there are no factors on this. There's no factor counting. Combat is relatively simple. In fact, everything that you do is relatively simple. You just roll dice, and whoever gets the highest roll wins. Obviously, there are modifiers. But, you know, you're not thinking about, oh, I've got a 6-6, and I'm going to attack his 3-3, and I'll get 2-1, and what are the odds? Okay, sequence of play. So you start with admin, then you get your flags, do production, and then you get the action phase. And the action phase is the meat of the game. Okay. Talks about economics. Obviously each country is going to have a different economic setup. As you get to play it, you know, you'll expand your countries, your economy will change. You've got resources and production there. You've got the idea of political concepts, so you've got, you know, where your interest is. Basically land or mixed areas you control, every area adjacent to you. Okay, obviously important, things like that. Countries where you've got an aid marker. The idea of flags. Now flags are things that you can put in the cup, or you do have a board that you can keep them back on as well, and you can keep units on if you want to interrupt. But the idea is you can use flags for doing political actions. You've got the concept of effectiveness and stability. Okay, so you know how stable your government is. If your people get too unhappy, then your government's going to, you know, fail and your country might collapse. Okay, war. Obviously, war's pretty important. There was quite a lot of that went on. There's the description of political actions, you know, joining an alliance, breaking an alliance, declaration of war, diplomacy. So you can, you know, if you're the Brits, you might want to try and get Norway on your side, so you'll diplome them. You can do propaganda to affect stability. The idea of military concepts there. Now, it's good that you can play this two-player to start with, because there is a scenario that allows you to just play Europe, or a few scenarios that allow you to just play Europe. So you can do, you know, the Russia-German War, or you can do the situation in 1933 without the Russians involved at all. So I think it plays quite well, you know, for a two-player game, but obviously 3 is the ideal. So again, supply, surprise attack, definition of combat. Like I say, resolving anything in this game is you roll a die. Whoever gets the highest die roll wins. You can have up to 3 dice. If you roll a 6, if you roll multiple 6s, then basically each additional 6 adds +1 to your starter 6. So in theory, if you roll 3 6s, you've rolled an 8, which means you're probably going to win that resolution. Okay, losses, regrouping, civil wars. There are chits that go in the cup that can cause civil wars. There are event chits that go in the cup, what they call crisis chits. Special power rules there. So there's a lot in there. I think a lot of the stuff that you do, you're going to be able to play it, put the chit in the cup, when the chit comes out, have a look at it, refresh the rules. There is quite a lot, but I don't think it's as difficult as it looks. I just think that the concepts are quite new. Okay, then we've got the playbook. Now, if you thought the rules were heavy, the playbook is 56 pages. But the idea of the playbook is it's going to help you learn how to play the game. So first of all, there's an entire section called How to Survive Cataclysm, which describes, you know, what the game's about and what you should be thinking about. A comprehensive example of play, which is about 10 or 11 pages long, if I remember rightly. And, you know, full colour, well detailed. These are lovely, lovely rules, lovely rule books. Once you've read that, you'll have a much better idea of how things will happen. Then you've got scenarios. So your scenarios go from your 2-player, you know, Europe in 1933, and obviously this is the full scenario. Now it says 4 to 10 hours for the full scenario. That to me, having read through the rules and spoke to other people about it, seems a little bit ambitious. I'll be surprised. But there you go, there's your 37 to 42 scenario. Eagle and the Sun, 41 to 46. Okay, then you've got more information at the back, a discussion about the game, which actually is worth reading. Although it's a designer interview, there's quite a lot of discussion about why things were done in the game, and I think it will help you learn the game. Okay, so that's quite a long article, and then, you know, individual countries, what they should be doing, bibliography, a glossary, stroke index. So that's going to help you, and then a description of the different units and what they do. So there's a tank army. That's an upgraded infantry army. There's a fortress, obviously a defensive. You know, submarine packs, carrier fleets, etc. But no factors. No factors to count, no odds to calculate. Okay, another crisis table on the back. So there's a crisis table on the back of the rules for when it's peacetime, and one in the back of the playbook for when it's wartime. Obviously different crises. Now, each country has one of these sheets. Okay, they give you the effectiveness, they give you the different commitment level that you're at. So you start at civilian, then you've got rearmament, mobilization, total war, and eventually you can become exhausted. They give you conversion factors. So it's the resources to builds. So the more, the higher up you are in commitment, the more builds you're going to get. And you can put your spare counters in there. On the back, information about what the US can do. So they got America, France, okay, Japan, Italy, Germany. Oops, sorry about this. Soviet Union, United Kingdom. Then you've got some special rules. So you've got some cards with some extra rules. So they're the fascist rules. So for instance, Il Duce is a counter that it's basically a flag counter that the Italians can use, and you know, the demilitarized Rhineland and dreadnought refits and the Washington Naval Treaty. On the back, you've got an example of play if you want to look at how to capture a base, a naval base. Okay, communist power special rules, democratic power special rules. on the back of those invasion and strategic bombing examples. So, you know, you can have a look through those if you're going to do strategic bombing, and they'll help you. Okay, here's the maps. There are 2 maps. They're not mounted, which I prefer. I'm not a big fan of mounted maps. They're not massive maps, but once you've got these 2 maps set up, if you're playing the full scenario and you've got all the cards, it does require quite a large space, but I wouldn't say it's outrageous. I mean, the maps are relatively small. People have said they're not that keen on these maps, but I really like them. I think they're quite atmospheric, very pretty, very easy to read. I don't see any problem with them at all. So obviously that was the Europe map, and then you've got the Pacific map. There's not a lot of areas on the board. I mean, you can see Mongolia's one area, Manchuria's one area. You've got areas like this which are mixed areas. They're land and sea, so like New Guinea. And then you've got lots of sea areas with lots of naval bases on them. Okay, so I like that. I think they're quite cool. I think the maps are nicely done, very pretty. Here you've got the counters. The counters look pretty plain, obviously, because there are no factors on them. You've got obviously your Germans up there with your flags and your offensives and your infantry armies and things like that. Okay, and these basically get chopped in the cup at the start. And once they're out the cup, then you can start using them. Now, each turn effectively goes on until the cup's almost empty. And there is a rule for how to finish it. So here we got the Soviets. Then we got the Brits and the Japanese, obviously. There's not that many counters. There is a different counter mix for each nation. So the Germans and the Russians aren't going to get the same things as, say, the Japanese. So the Japanese have been more weighted towards ships, and the Germans obviously more weighted towards tanks. There's your record display. So that's another sheet that needs to be left out. It shows you put your political display on there so you can see who's at war with who. The idea of the game is it doesn't follow history. Okay, you make the history. So the Second World War will almost certainly come, but when it comes and how it comes is up to the players. Okay, example of what happens in a civil war on the back. They've used every inch of space in this game. There's the crisis tables again, the wartime crisis table and the peacetime crisis table, so you don't have to get the rolls out. I think there are 3 of these. Sequence of plays. Okay, so you've got your full sequence of play. Lots of information, combat resolution, civil war resolution, what to do when there's a collapse, what to do when there's a surrender. So you don't have to go rooting through the rules for these things. Okay, 3 of those, so useful obviously when you got, probably 3 sides. Then you got your dice, 3 dice for each colour. And then you got your cubes. Now, these are quite nice pastel cubes. I think a few people have complained that the colours are fairly similar. I mean, if you look at the sort of cream and the yellow and the grey. But to be honest, if you've got decent lighting, I can't see any problem. And they match the counters and they match the cards. Okay, this is a game I'm really looking forward to having a go at. I really like grand strategic games. I think there are, infinite numbers of operational games, infinite numbers of tactical games, but very few people have actually got to the point where they can make a game that covers grand strategy without it going somewhere off the rails. I think the maps are nice. I think the counters are maybe not particularly nice, but certainly functional. I think it's a usual high production GMT game, and I would expect anybody interested in this period to enjoy it. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed looking what's in the box. This is Carl Bound from Comic Culture and the Game Store. I'm sorry there's been a bit of a delay since the last one. I've had a few health issues, but I'm looking forward to feeling a bit better now and doing a few more of these. So don't forget to subscribe and like if you enjoyed it, and feel free to leave any comments that you like, and I'll try and get another one done as soon as possible. Okay, bye.